Hey, what's up, guys? It's Brando here at the Blue Devil Den, and today we're going to go ahead and talk a little bit of bracketology and kind of what's going on at the landscape of college basketball right now as we start heading into the March Madness tournament here next month. So a lot of great basketball has been played up to this point, and it's great seeing game after game and seeing each team trying to get as many quad one wins as they can, scrounge up before the season really ends, heading into conference play. So real quick here, just looking at it, the top 25, we're going to sit out here. It's 25 is UCLA out of the Big Ten Conference standings, 17-6 so far this year. They're doing pretty well. We also have number 24, St. John's out of the Big East Conference. Now, I know they're ranked a little bit higher, but in the net rankings right now, they're sitting at number 24 with a 20-3 record on the season. Huge game tonight for St. John's as they go and play UConn. I believe UConn has a 31 ranking in the net. So getting that win for St. John's, another quad one win for them if they can beat the defending national champions. And then we also have number 23, Kentucky out of the SEC Conference. Kentucky coming off a couple good wins here. Arkansas had a win over Kentucky. My bad. But pretty crazy to see Kentucky in the top 25. Even though they're 15-7, they do have quite a few losses, and I don't know if it's because they're more of a blue blood program or what, but they do have a couple quad one wins, keeping them in the top 25 ranking at the moment. Back down here, we got number 22, St. Mary's out of the West WCC Conference, 19-3, and really it's going to be interesting to see them go up against the Zags. Gonzaga not having the greatest season so far on the year, but really nice to see St. Mary's doing well. They played my Huskers earlier on in the season. Nebraska almost edged them out, but did not get it done. St. Mary's had a nice win there. But yeah, sitting real good there for the Gales. And meanwhile, we have Michigan State sitting at number 21. They were just 20 and actually lost their most two recent conference games. They were undefeated going into this week. So really interesting there for Tom Izzo and the Michigan State Spartans, hanging on to that number 20th or number 21st spot. Number 20, Ole Miss out of the SEC Conference, had a tough game against Auburn, had an opportunity to beat the number one team in the land, but did not get that one done. Still a great season so far for Ole Miss. Number 19, Marquette out of the Big East Conference, sitting at 18-5. Marquette doing really great things there at the Big East. A lot of people don't talk about Marquette, but genuinely great, solid team. Going to be fun to watch them in the March Madness tournament. Number 18, Missouri, the Tigers. We just watched them on the live stream yesterday. Missouri playing the Tennessee Volunteers on the road up in Rocky Top. Missouri almost got it done. They were ahead in the first half, but ended up losing by 4 points to Tennessee. And then after that, we also have number 17, Michigan, the Wolverines out of the Big Ten Conference. Kind of going under the radar, it seems like. They're flying under the radar in the Big Ten, but they are 17-5. On the year so far, looking real good for the Michigan Wolverines. Number 16, Wisconsin, also out of the Big Ten. We're going to go through a couple here from the Big Ten. Wisconsin having a wonderful season themselves. Really staying steady right in the ship here after last season. 18-5 on the year. Number 15, Maryland, out of the Big Ten as well. 17-5 on the year. Kind of flying under the radar. I mean, I haven't heard too many people talking too much about Maryland, but genuinely solid team, having a good year themselves. Number 14, Illinois. Having a couple tough losses as of late, but still Illinois in the top 15, sitting at number 14 currently as of today. Number 13, Texas A&M out of the SEC Conference. Really solid team. Really great guard play. Phenomenal conference. Obviously, SEC having a wonderful year. And what's crazy about that, that's probably about the fourth or fifth best team in the entire conference. And they're in the top 14 of the net rankings. Number 12, Gonzaga. Not having the greatest year the Zags aren't. They're 16-7 on the year. Still baffles me that they're ahead of the St. Mary's Gales at this point in the season. But Gonzaga going to have a tough out when they do play St. Mary's in the conference tournament. We'll see how that plays out. Number 11, Iowa State. I've never been too sold on Iowa State myself personally, but they are consistent no matter what season it is. They seem to always find a way to get in the tournament, but how far will they go? That is to be determined, sitting at 17-5 so far on the year. Top 10 here, guys. Number 10, Purdue out of the Big Ten Conference. Really tough place to play in Purdue. They've shown that time and time again in the Big Ten Conference. Sitting at number 10 with an 18-5 record. Number 9, Arizona. Man, what a good season the Wildcats are having this year. A lot of people aren't talking a ton about them, but they find ways to get wins. They're 16-6 on the year, looking real good so far out of the Big 12. Number 8, Kansas. Kansas, what you would say as far as Kansas's terms are concerned, that this is not a great season for them. Still sitting at number 8 in the net rankings, so they'll probably get a solid seed if they can continue the season out and finish the season pretty strong, but we'll see how that goes. Number 7, Texas Tech, 18-4, probably the best team in the Big 12 other than Houston. Watched one of their games. They were doing really well in that one. So I think they look like a solid team. They're 18-4 on the year. Definitely one of the better teams as far as record go, as we are so far in the year. Number 6, Alabama out of the SEC Conference. Alabama consistently at the top of their conference and really at the top of the national landscape over the last 3 seasons. They're really building something special there in Alabama, so it's been fun to watch those guys. Right now, 19-3 on the year. Number 5, Florida. Probably the team I'd be rooting for the most in the SEC Conference. It's been great seeing them. I've seen lots of games of Florida. Just watched the one against Tennessee where they got waylaid. Another great team. Since we're on that, number 4, Tennessee, sitting at 19-4, coming off that strong win against Florida. They're looking really good. We just watched them last night again. We mentioned that earlier, Missouri and Tennessee. Tennessee gets that win at home against a top 15 opponent in Missouri. But yeah, 19-4 on the season. Tennessee is going to be a dark horse pick to win the national title, and they have a good opportunity to do so this year. Number 3, Houston out of the Big 12. Probably the best team in the conference itself. But it's kind of crazy to say that Houston's doing so well. They used to be so great back in the day, but they've been consistently at the top of the national landscape for a few years finishing
now.
It out here,
wonderful,
we have
wonderful
Duke, my team. You already know this. The Blue Devil wins. Right now, out of the ACC Conference. Man, the ACC Conference, once a juggernaut of the conferences of college basketball, really struggling this year. You've seen that early on, the SEC, ACC Challenge. Duke held its own during that time, and they're playing in a bad conference this year. Nevertheless, Duke's extremely talented and might go extremely far. That's my hope, and I hope you hope so too. But they are 22 on the year with only a couple losses against some quality teams. Just recently beating Auburn at home, however, so we'll see how they do during neutral site games. That's been probably their biggest struggle during the season so far. And last, but absolutely not least, Auburn out of the SEC Conference. Everything about Auburn's looked good this year. They're 21-1. They're looking good offensively and defensively, and you can see why they're sitting at top of the net rankings. Another thing just wanted to touch up on real quick. Here is your current top 25 as it stands for this week. Number 1 coming in, Auburn. 2, Duke. 3, Alabama. 4, Tennessee. 5, Houston. 6, Florida. 7, Purdue. 8, Iowa State. 9, Michigan State. And 10, Texas A&M. Rounding out your top 10. A lot of great teams this year. And really, there's about 15 to 20 teams that have an outside shot to win the title, pending a couple dark horses. But right now, this is where it sits with your current top 25 on this week. Well, starting out with our bracketology out of the South region, Lexington, we have number 1 Auburn up against 16 Alabama. Obviously, you like Auburn there. Auburn looking like the team that could potentially win it all. We also have number 8 Creighton going up against number 9 Gonzaga. I like the way that matchup sits right now. Just spitballing it here, but I'd probably pick Creighton in that one. Gonzaga having a tough year. Creighton starting to come back after early losses on in the season, rounding out their form as they head into March. Number 5 Arizona. Going up against number 12, McNeese. Arizona shouldn't have too many issues there as the Wildcats have had a great season, but you got to watch out for that 12-5 potential upset there. 4, Memphis. 13, Grand Canyon. Grand Canyon's had some good things going on for themselves as a program in the past. Now, this is not the same program. Memphis having a solid year themselves. Could see Memphis maybe struggling a little bit early on if this was the potential matchup, but I think Memphis gets it done. 6, St. John's at 11, San Diego State or Nebraska. Of course, I'm going to pick Nebraska to win that first round, opening round game as their play-in game. They're going to go ahead and play up against St. John's. If that is the case, watch out for Nebraska upset here as the 11th seed, but you never know. St. John's probably the one to get it done, but I got to pick Nebraska. 3, Kentucky at 14, Cleveland State. I easily pick Kentucky in that one. I don't see Cleveland State giving them too many issues. 7, Mississippi State against 10, Utah State. Mississippi State, one of the good teams, probably middle of the pack SEC team, but above average team in any other conference. I'd pick Mississippi State to win that one. And finally, out of the South region, I'd pick Houston over Norfolk State. Ultimately, if I was to pick the one team out of this region in itself, I'm going to have to go with Auburn. After the few games I've seen of Auburn, they've consistently shown that they're great on the offensive end as well as the defensive end. And honestly, they probably are the best pick to actually win the national title, pending a huge upset here in the tournament. And you know how March goes, so we'll see what happens with that one. Now we're taking a look at the West region here, starting us off up in Raleigh. Tennessee at the number 1 seed against 16 Central Connecticut. Tennessee throttles Central Connecticut in this matchup here. We move on to 8 Clemson at 9 West Virginia. These matchups are always extremely fun or incredibly boring. And based on the seasons that I've seen so far, watch out for West Virginia for the small upset here as the ACC conference has been struggling as a conference as a whole. I think West Virginia is just slightly more battle-tested than Clemson, and I think they'd pull this one off. Down in the Denver area, number 5 against number 12 Missouri against UC Irvine. Based on what I've seen against Missouri last night, Missouri looks like a top 20 team for sure. I could see them maybe struggling a little bit deeper on in this tournament. However, they should get it done against the 12 seed if it's UC Irvine. Number 4, Wisconsin against 13 Arkansas State. Wisconsin gets it done here against Arkansas State. They're definitely a dark horse pick, a top 15 team right now as it sits. Wisconsin looking really good so far this year, and they should do great things in the tournament. Now we move on here to the other half of this region. 6, Oregon at 11, BYU or Pittsburgh. Oregon, you know what? They might be kind of a weaker 6 seed based on what I've seen when they played my team, Nebraska. Nebraska goes on the road and upsets Oregon away out on the West Coast. Made it look a little bit easy too, honestly. Honestly, it's kind of crazy saying that, but it's the truth. 3, Texas A&M at 14, Northern Colorado. Texas A&M, tremendous guard play. They're really on the up and up, not just because it shows it here that they're on the up and up. They really are a solid team out of the SEC Conference and might go deep in this tournament. Moving on here, 7, UConn, the defending national champions, back-to-back champions at that, against 10, Ohio State. Right now, we were watching the Maryland-Ohio State game. Looks like Maryland's kind of handling their business. Ohio State, though, can get some good things going for them. It's just a matter of time if they can get themselves rounded out in top shape before the tournament. And right now, it's looking like they are struggling. So I picked UConn in a close one here in opening round for the national champs. Finally, 2, Iowa State against 15, Florida Gulf Coast. You can count on Iowa State getting out of the first round alive on this one here. Now, I'm going to go with the unbiased pick here, and I think Tennessee probably gets to the Final Four of the Elite Eight, but I think we're going to see an upset. Might see a dark horse team like Texas A&M
Moving
or
right
Iowa
along
State
here,
or potentially
the Midwest
Wisconsin
region
where
where Alabama
Alabama starts
Four.
us off with a 1 seed against number 16 Southern. Alabama destroys Southern. Moving on to St. Mary's at the 8 seed against Oklahoma at the 9. Oklahoma underrated in the Big 12 Conference. Now, St. Mary's doing really good at the WCC Conference. However, I'm going to go ahead and pick a small upset here and pick Oklahoma to beat the St. Mary's Gales. Oklahoma moves on to the round of 32. 5, Illinois against 12, Yale. Illinois, though they've had their struggles, they're still a very solid team. If they can get that consistency going, they should have no problem destroying Yale in this matchup. 4, Texas Tech at 13, Samford. Texas Tech, wonderful team this year, doing some really great things out of the Big 12 Conference. Easily a top 4 team out of that conference, and probably potentially the second best conference in the league right now. Big Ten, though, might have something to say about that. But I still got Texas Tech winning this one against Samford. Moving along to Maryland at 6 and Drake at 11. Maryland, maybe this is the one that you pick an upset for. Maryland, though, they've been somewhat consistent over the year. I could see them kind of dropping the ball here and maybe losing to the 11 seed. Someone's going to lose. That's going to be my upset pick here for Drake to upset Maryland. Marquette at 3 against 14 Jacksonville State. This might be one where you just never know. But Marquette, though they have had their inconsistencies, they have still been a solid team out of the Big East Conference. Done some really great things. Pick Marquette here in this one. 7, Louisville at 10, Vanderbilt. You know, honestly, thought a little bit about this one for a minute, and it came to me that Louisville, you know, though they have not been as great of a program recently, they still are a blue blood program, in my opinion. They've done some really great things, and I just think that Louisville is slowly getting back up to where they used to be as far as a team in this college basketball era. But now, lastly, Purdue here at the 2 seed against number 15, Bryant. Purdue, very tough team. They've struggled in the past in the NCAA tournament, but recently they've had a little bit more success. Purdue, very, very good team on the road, but I tell you what, they do some good stuff at their home as well. Purdue destroys Bryant in the Milwaukee area of this region. Now, lastly here for this side of the region, I'm going to go ahead and say Alabama with the 1 seed does make it to the Final Four. Alabama is a solid team, as good as it gets in the entire country. They've shown time and time again why they deserve to be a top 5 team, and I think they do show up and show out for the NCAA tournament, make it to the Final Four. Now, finishing up here out of the East region, we have the number 1 seed Duke up against a 16 Marist or American. Duke will throttle these opponents. This is not your typical Duke team that, I shouldn't say typical Duke team, but the team in Duke that will be inconsistent in the tournament. This team is legit. This team is potentially the number 1 team in the country. They have Cooper Flagg looking really good, as well as a really strong supporting cast. Guys, watch for Duke to go for a deep run in this tournament. Number 8, Baylor at 9, Texas. You know what? I'm going to pick Baylor in this one. I'm a little bit biased, but I've always liked Baylor as a team, and I'd like to see them do well, though they will definitely lose in the second round against Duke. Next matchup here, we got Ole Miss at 5 against 12, George Mason. Ole Miss done some great things this year. They played some really good competition out of the SEC Conference. They are battle-tested and should have no problem taking a team like George Mason on. Moving along here, for Michigan State at 13, Akron. Michigan State, they were at the top of the Big Ten Conference, and now they've lost back-to-back games in the Big Ten Conference. You know what, though? I don't think Michigan State's going to have trouble against Akron, and Tom Izzo is known as the man in March for a reason. Michigan State with the win on this one. 6, UCLA at 11, Georgia. Georgia moving up in the SEC Conference. Not necessarily quite there in the middle of the conference, you'd probably say, for the SEC. But UCLA, really strong team. Their coach has lots of experience. They've been all over the country now since they've had to join the Big Ten Conference. So they are battle-tested as well. I see UCLA coming up top and winning this one here. 3, Kansas at 14, Towson. Kansas, what a season Kansas has had, right, guys? Pretty crazy. You would say in terms of a normal season, this has been an absolute disaster for Kansas and Bill Self. However, they're going to get this done in this first matchup, and we'll see how good they go in March. But guys, watch this Kansas team. They're either going to go really deep or they're going to lose one of the first couple rounds. So be wary of that one. Now we move along to number 7, Michigan at 10, New Mexico. Michigan, wow. You know what? A lot of people aren't talking about Michigan, but let's not forget just recently how deep of a run they made in the national title. Just recently winning a national title a few years ago. Not necessarily the same team, but you know what? Watch out for Michigan to go make a small run in the tournament. Should take care of business against the 10 seed. Final matchup here in the East region, we have 2 Florida at UNC Asheville. I like Florida as a basketball program, and I like Florida's program just in general. Doing some great things. They have a very high-powered offense. Love that they have that center, Oliver Rue, or however you pronounce it. He's doing some great things for him, too. It's going to be a fun season for these guys. Watch Florida go deep in the tournament. Lastly, I'm going to go ahead and pick Duke to win in the East region. I think they're going to go really far in the tournament, potentially to the Final Four, and I think they have an opportunity to win the national title based on what I've seen so far from my team. Well, guys, that's been Bracketology 1.0. We've had a lot of good topics here as we're discussing March Madness, and it's approaching so fast. We got a few games left to go here, of course, in the regular season. A lot of opportunities for people to get some quad 1 wins to really build their resumes. Really top-heavy in the college basketball ranks right now, but it's going to be a great tournament. Looking forward to it, and guys, it's just right around the corner. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, though, and we'll catch you next time.